Good afternoon, Namibia and the world, and welcome to our Wednesday session at the Government Information Center. I am your host for this afternoon, and my name is Ashianwa Desire Kahiham. This afternoon's topic, we are looking at Social Security's claims and benefits payout. And in the studio, I have the Windhoek branch manager, and that is Mr. Ben Haingura, and he is from the Social Security Commission. Good afternoon, sir, and thank you for being with us. And also, please be reminded that our sessions here are educational sessions, they're conversations, there are platforms, it is a platform that we would like to use to communicate with you who's viewing these sessions. So you can find us on our Facebook page, and our handle on Facebook is Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. And on YouTube, you can find us at MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. You can drop us your comments in the comment section of these platforms, and also give us any questions that you have. You can pose them on these very same platforms that we are streaming from. Getting back to the topic at hand, as I said, we are looking at Social Security claims and benefits payout. Very first question, and I think this is what we need to first get out of the way. Can you, Mr. Haingura, please talk to us about the mandate of the Social Security Commission?
Okay, thank you very much. Just to take you a little bit back, just for a better understanding, the Social Security Act, that is Act 34 of 1995, came into operation in 1995. That is, now to be specific, it was on the 15th of January 1995. Now that act make provision to establish a commission, that is what we know now, Social Security Commission. Now the Social Security Commission, is commonly known SSC, was then, through the act, mandated to establish a number of funds. Now, among the funds, is now the maternity leave, the sick leave, the death, and the benefit fund. Now, those funds require for a membership requirement. Now, what basically now we as an administrator mandated is to make sure that we register employer under the maternity leave, sick and death benefit fund, that is the MSD, as well as the Employees Compensation Act. And then also we were also mandated, or we are mandated to register employee under the MSD fund, that stands for Maternity, Sick and Death Benefit Fund. Now after registration, we then have to collect monthly contributions and annual assessment. And then we have to pay the benefit, which is now key for the discussion of today. Yeah. And the other aspect is we have to enforce compliance. So among the other aspects, just in summary, that is basically the mandate. But I'm not saying that is the only, but there's just basic the summary. Okay. That is the mandate.
Okay. You spoke about benefits, and I'd like us to then start, going into those. Can you kindly then highlight the various types of benefits that you find, as well as the eligibility criteria of each one of these benefits?
Okay. First thing first, you must be a member through registration. That's the requirement. And then you should have contribute for a specific period of time. For the benefit of this discussion, you must have a minimum membership of 6 months. Okay. Provided all contribution payable were paid. Okay. That is very important. And then once you meet those requirements, then you qualify for your maternity leave. So that basically the maternity leave is paid in a period of 12 weeks. We normally say a week, 4 weeks before and 4 weeks after. The other benefit also payable under the same fund is now your sick leave. Okay. Now sick leave is paid provided you should be on a sick leave. You should have been booked off for a continuous period of more than 30 days. continuously, provided your sick leave days, as provided for in the Labor Act, is exhausted. Then you qualify for that benefit. Now, the other aspect also, that benefit is paid for a period, a continuous period of 24 months, which is 2 years. So that is basically. And then the other benefit that we pay, we normally call it a death benefit. Within the death benefit, you find the death benefit itself in case of a death of a member, then we pay to the dependent of that specific member.
Okay.
And then we also, in the same, we also pay for retirement. If a member retire at a prescribed age, we pay that benefit that we were supposed to pay in case of death.
Okay.
And then also when a member become medical disabled, we also make that payment to that specific member.
Okay. Before we continue, the death benefit, this is paid out to the dependents. Is there a particular amount to this?
Yes, it's a specific amount. It's a lump sum of 12,000.
Uh-huh.
What it basically say, if you have a number of them, then that must be shared equally among the beneficiary.
Uh-huh.
So that is basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just to make sure that we heard you correctly, in the case where the member retires, this amount that would have, let's say, constituted a death benefit, then is paid out as a retirement benefit.
Yes.
Okay.
So also, I also want to add, because that is now under the one fund, the benefit. Now under the other fund, this fund, the requirement is basically the employer must register with the fund. That is now your employees' compensation fund. Under that fund, we pay for, we normally say reasonable medical expenses, because we are, those are payment are done in terms of the tariffs, gazetted tariffs. So we pay medical expenses, we pay cost for transportation of an injured person to the medical facility. We also pay what we call total temporal disablement. It's basically the person is not able to perform his work and is unable to receive any payment. Then you receive payment under that fund.
Okay.
And then we also pay permanent disability. It can be in a form of a lump sum, or it can also be in a form of monthly pension.
Okay.
And then we also pay what we call benefit to surviving, to the members surviving either spouse or children. That's basically if a member die because of the injury on duty, then there are benefit that we need to pay to the survivor.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
And these amounts, they are calculated as per, let's say, tax brackets, or is there a ceiling amount? And I mean, is there a particular range of minimum and maximum, or is it based on the person's salary scale, or what is it based on?
It's basically based on your basic salary, what
Okay.
we call, many call them basic wage, but we have a ceiling.
Okay.
So basically certain percentage, and then we have a ceiling that we say we cannot pay more than that. But
Okay.
it's linked to your basic salary. Yes.
Okay. We then want to find out from you, what is the time frame for a payout for the stated benefits, and the process thereof, and the required documentation?
Okay. So for the purpose of that, I have a list of them, because there are a number of those benefits that basically you are referring. So let me just recap. You basically want to know how long it takes for us to
Yes.
pay those benefits.
How soon does the person need to should I say apply or register
Oh,
for
okay,
the payout?
okay.
And also, how long does it take for the
Okay.
payout to be made? What is the process that the person has to then engage in, whether it's for the application purpose or
Okay.
the claim application, I don't know which English term to use there, and also what documents do they need to present when they are, submitting the application for these claims?
Okay. I will start with maternity. We said for a qualified member, I explain who is a qualified member. You must submit the maternity claim form. We call it Form 13.
Form 13, okay.
This form must be duly certified by the medical practitioner And it must also be signed by the employer and the employee, and then it should be submitted at least 7 days before the expected date of delivery, because this date is certified by the medical doctor. Now, once that form is submitted, it should also be accompanied by at least a copy of your ID for the purpose of verification, and then the bank confirmation, because we have to make sure that we pay into the correct bank and your last pay slip, so that we can verify that indeed the percentage that we are going to pay is based on your correct salary. So that is one. The first, then we'll process the first payment. Once the first payment is processed, before we do the second and the third, we will then require a member to submit what we call Form 14 and 15, together with a certified copy of the baby. Sometimes the members always submit their own mother's own medical, birth certificate. But we require the birth certificate of the child. In case of death, then we require a certified copy of the death certificate. Through that, we will then be able to process the second and the third payment. That is for maternity leave. In case of sick leave, we said you must submit Form 16, duly completed, certified by the medical doctor, who will obviously give the condition, and then also it must be signed by the employer as well as the employee. Then we'll pay the payment. Now, for prolonged sick leave, that is more than 3 months, we will then require a member, at least after every 3 months, to give to us what we call a progress medical report or certificate, just to confirm that the person is still on sick leave and the person is not receiving any salary. Then we'll pay the progress payment or sequence payments. Now, before we pay the final payment, you must then submit what we call Form 16B. Now, that Form 16 is just basically a declaration to say, I was on sick leave from this period and to this period, and I did not receive any payment. Then we'll pay the final payment. So, but if your sick leave now exceeds the 24 months, which is 2 years, we will not be able to continue. Then we have to look at other benefit that will pay. Maybe for argument, you will then qualify under what we call the D benefit. That is now when we pay the death, retirement, and disability. Now, to be specific for the death, we said we give a member 30 days to submit a claim from the date of death. Why are we doing that? Because we do not know who are the dependent for that specific. And not everyone get the information on time. And also there are issue of culture, certain culture after death, you must stay indoor for a certain period of time. So then the Act make provision for a waiting period of 30 days. After 30 days, then we will start processing. Just as I said, we will pay this benefit to the dependent. So we take the amount, we split among the dependent. But then the form to require is Form 17 and Form 18 if the member was not married. So those are basically a form that you have to submit that you are claiming for a death benefit, or so on behalf of a person or a member that have died. And then also from that 19B is just basically a declaration what your relationship, the relationship between you and also the person who passed on. And then the last that we do now is now the Form 19 and 19B. That is basically in case of retirement or disability. So then you submit those forms. So all these forms that I have explained, in death, obviously you have to submit a copy of the death certificate. For the dependent, full certificate, birth certificate, because we want to verify the relationship, and also the bank confirmation. So for all claims must be accompanied by the bank confirmation letter, because we need to pay into the correct bank account.
But now there's now the question, or maybe we can come back to that a bit later on. Let us proceed to the monthly contributions. These amounts, how much are they, and are they the same across all tax brackets?
Okay, thank you. The monthly contribution is linked to your basic salary. You have to pay 0.9% of your basic salary.
Okay.
But there is a minimum that we said you have to pay a minimum of $2.70 per month and a maximum of $81. The rest, it will depend on your income. That is your basic salary. I want to make it clear, your basic salary, not your total, what we call total earnings, but it's linked to your basic salary.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. We ask this question now because you find from various experiences, regardless of how much your salary was, the contribution has always been, let's say, for example, this $81. Is that on the part of the employer that is wrong, or what are the regulations there?
Okay. The $81 is always linked if your basic salary is more than 9,000. If you earn more than 9,000, then your contribution will be based on $81. But if you are earning less than that, then there is a problem, because the law even make it clear that the employer cannot make a double deduction to cover for both. Remember, this contribution, what we contribute as an employee, the employer also contribute the same. Okay. But cases of that scenario, if you have realized that the deduction is higher than what you're supposed to do, I mean to be deducted, that information must be brought into the attention of the Commission, which is Social Security. We have our compliance officer, they are just like we call them authorized person, to go and do investigations and find out as to what happened.
Okay, because I think many people don't know about this. And we asked this question because you do find a lot of people under the $9,000 salary bracket that are being paid $81,000. I mean, the $81. Now, the question then comes, does the monthly contribution affect the percentage payout in the case of a claim that is submitted?
Yes. Yes, that's why I said you need to submit your payslip. Now, even if you have been contributing $81, which is, we assume you are earning more than 9,000 per month, while your basic salary is 5,000, when that claim comes, we'll pay you based on the correct payment. So
it will be a loss to the member?
I cannot say really it's a loss, it's a wrong deduction from your salary.
Okay.
Now, we need to rectify it. If that money was incorrectly paid to the Commission, which is Social Security, we have to refund the member.
Okay.
If that money was deducted by the employer and the employer, just for whatever reason, did not pay it and only kept paying the correct amount, we also have to intervene. That's why the enforcement of compliance comes in.
And what is the time period that a member, upon realizing this discrepancy, has for them to submit, should I say, a complaint or a claim, a refund request from the Social Security Commission?
Yeah, what we do, we deal with cases on different scenarios.
Okay.
We don't have a specific timeline to it, but there are a number of factors. But it's always preferable that at least within 30, I mean, let's say within a year. Yeah. Within a year or 2 years, you have to contact the Commission after realizing, or as soon as you realize that, you need to come to us. Because sometimes it might have a negative impact on it, in case where maybe the employer now, the business have closed and the employer has gone. And that money was never paid to Social Security as an institution. So my advice is, as soon as you realize, come to Social Security. Okay. But if there are issues or factors beyond that, we'll look into that and then advise accordingly.
What if this period is 5 years? Are they still eligible to come?
Yeah, look, just as I said, we do not, but there is unless we link it to a prescribed, there's a prescribed time frame. So in most cases where they look at and say, after 2 years, within 2 years, you should have done something, or within 3 years. After that, then something was not right.
Okay.
So that's why I said, as soon as you realize, you have just to inform the commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we're asking these questions because even some of us, as we are sitting here, we don't know about this, especially with regards to the amounts, because from a personal perspective, I didn't know that the $81 or the contribution per month was in various stages based on your salary. And many people, I believe, have been paying this $81, regardless of what their salary bracket is. And it's, as I said at the beginning of our show, this is one of those platforms that we use to educate each other. You as the audience educates us, the panelists educate us, we educate each other, and it's a conversation that we try and carry out here in order to make sure that we go home or away from these sessions more knowledgeable than when we came in. And remember that you can join this conversation through our social media platforms, and on Facebook, our handle there is Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia, Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. That's on Facebook. You can also find us on our YouTube channel, which is MICT Namibia, MICT Namibia. We will be opening up the lines a little bit later on in the show. But for now, we'd like to get back to Mr. Haingura while we wait for your comments on our social media platforms. Our next question then speaks to the maternity benefit. And we wanted to find out what are maternity leave benefits and what constitutes their payout percentage.
Okay. So maternity leave benefit is a benefit payable to qualified female members. So they are entitled to that once they meet the requirement. Now, what we said, we will pay you 100% of your basic salary for that specified period, but up to a maximum of 15,000.
Of 15,000?
15,000, 15,000. That is what we will pay you. But as I said, you have to meet those conditions, and obviously, and then once you qualify, and that is what we pay.
Okay. When does the SSC not pay out a maternity leave claim request?
The first thing is if you are not a registered person, meaning you are not a member with Social Security, or you were registered but you did not meet the minimum 6-month membership period.
Okay.
Then in that case, we will reject that claim.
Okay. So it's like a medical aid. So a person can't come after the 6 months to try and claim for a period that they had delivered during the 6 months?
No, because the requirement is at the time the claim arose. Now, when a claim arose, let's take maternity leave. The maternity leave will arise based on the date that the doctor will certify that is the expected date of delivery.
Yeah.
Then we work 4 weeks before that. If at the time, at that starting period of 4 weeks, you have met the minimum requirement, then we'll pay. If not, then because at the time, not when you come and submit a claim, but at the time that claim arose, you did not meet the minimum membership requirement of 6 months.
Okay.
And also provided for all contributions that were supposed to be paid, or all contribution that is payable, is or are paid at the time. So that is basically.
Okay. I go back to an earlier response that you gave us now with regards to the amounts payable, where you stated that with the maternity, it's 100% of your basic salary payout up until an amount of 15,000. Now, this becomes a bone of contention to some because you find some people who earn more than the 15,000, and this ceiling amount becomes a bit of a loss to them. Some people even, they don't have additional income. You might find somebody being, for whatever circumstances, they are now left alone to raise this child. So basically, the father's not around. They don't really have a support system around them. They're the only breadwinners. So this is basically bringing down their salary, let's say from a 22,000 to a 15,000. And in most cases, people really work around their expenditures on the basis of their basic salaries after, let's say, the deductions or the tax or so on. Now, you find people going into debt because they need to find a way to compensate for the difference. Why are the payouts not made on a more fairer scale with regards to the ceiling amount? And are there any future plans or remedial plans to try and deal with this problem? Because let us be honest, it is a problem, because we find a lot of our working, women having to take certain decisions to try and minimize the risk factors of them having this cut in salary.
Okay. Thank you. That's one of the questions that I always like. So first, I just want to take a little bit background. Now, the Social Security, this fund is a solidarity fund.
Okay.
What basically means is that we don't pay what you put in, but we pay what you are entitled to. That's the first one. Now, the second one, periodically, in terms of years or after a year, we have been adjusted these benefits. So for those who can remember, when we started, the maximum was 3,000. So as time went, even this year, we adjusted it from 13,000 to 15,000. So they are future plans. Okay. So now, those plans or whatever adjustment or increment that we do, they are determined by the fund sustainability. Is the fund able to sustain itself in a longer period if we pay these benefits? Now, there are those expertise who come and assess, and then they make recommendation that your adjustment should be go up to this ceiling, because then the fund will still be able to sustain itself. So those are basically the factors that determine whether we have to pay that maximum or the other maximum. So it's only about the fund itself. Now, I understand, and we have been trying as an institution to see how we can bring the benefit up and up, try to meet halfway. But as I said, those factors always determine, and we don't want to be irresponsible just to adjust benefit as anybody will wish, including whoever the person might be, and after 2-3 years, then just to realize that the fund cannot sustain itself, and then the institution close. So those are issues that we are always guarding against.
Okay.
Yes, that's basically the only reason behind that.
So I doubt there are any merit cases where you do find somebody, or are they maybe able to approach the commission, where you find somebody who's really struggling because of something like this. Yeah. Do we have such opportunities where a person can approach the commission?
Yes. We find those queries and we find those issues. And also the other thing that I want to bring to the public is that Social Security have what we call tripartite type of arrangement. Now, our board of commissioner, many institutions call them board of directors, they consist of employees representative. They are there to serve the interests of the employee. Yeah. And then we have employers representative, we have to serve the interests of the employer, and then government representatives. Okay. So basically, any issue that affects any individual, there is room for that issues to be taken through whoever your constituency, so per se, representative will represent you, because they basically recommend for the law changes and so on. and we as administrator, we then implement whatever comes in. So if the wish of the employee is then different than what is happening, they still have that right to communicate through their representatives or provide that information to the commission. It will be looked at and then be done either accordingly or as it is at that time, at that moment on time. So that is basically, there is ways to get to the commission. Because this institution exists because of the employees. So that's why we are there. So we have to make sure that we listen, even if we don't respond or give them what they wish, but at least we take note of that and we see how best we can improve on certain aspect. So that's basically what is expected from us, in short.
Okay. Now we're talking about the females being the ones to qualify for maternity leave. But we had a question that came up, and, you know, it spoke to their male counterparts, because you find situations where this male counterpart really does need to assist, especially the first month or so after birth, you know, depending on the situation that they find themselves in. So now I think this is the background of this question, because it speaks to, are male counterparts allowed to apply for paternity leave with the Social Security Commission?
Yeah, in the current law, there's no provision for paternity leave.
Okay.
Because as I said, those conditions say you must be certified, expected date of confinement or delivery must be given, and that is the condition that make you to qualify from the maternity leave. Currently, there is no provision of that nature in terms of the female members who want to take paternity leave. Yeah, so.
Is there maybe any future possibility?
Currently, there is no discussion of that nature. And when I say currently, as I sit here, so I don't know what might happen tomorrow or a day after tomorrow. But as I'm sitting here and as I came from the office, there's that discussion. Unless it's there and I'm not aware of it, maybe it's a different level, but we do not provide a benefit in case of male member. So we normally advise them and say, depend where you work, make use of those compassionate leave days. I know they are few, but it's worth than nothing. So that is basically always our advice to them.
Sorry, my brothers, we're not there yet. Unfortunately, as we said earlier on, it's about the sustainability also of the fund. So unfortunately, maybe as the future revolves, discussions might come up. As we say, it's a conversation. You can join us in the conversation, and our lines are open. And the number here in the studio, 061 is the area code. The number is 400397. 400397. You can also drop us your questions and comments on our social media platforms. Facebook, we're at Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. YouTube, our handle there is MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia. While we wait for you to join us in the conversation, we continue with Mr. Haingura. As we said, he's the manager for the Windhoek branch for the Social Security Commission. Our next question speaks to retirement claims, and we would like you to please take us through the process and procedures for these retirement claims.
Okay. A retirement claim, or let me start, a retirement benefit is payable to a qualified member who retires at the age of 60 or 65. That is basically the period that you have to retire. Now, then provided you met the minimum requirement, I always refer to membership requirement because that is key. And then basically then what you do, then you will submit a claim for retirement. The form that I have said, 19 and 19B, and then we will then do the payment because you have retired. You are no longer any employee. and then we pay you off. Just to add, there are scenario where a member retire at the age of 60, especially in the professional environment, and then they, for one or another reason, they might be recalled by their employer to go and still work, and then the law requires that the person must still be registered, provided he or she is younger than 65 and contribute to the fund.
Okay.
But then you will not qualify for the D benefit, which is a death, retirement, and disability, except the other benefits. Yeah, so basically those are the rules of the fund.
Okay. I'll come back. I've got a follow-up question for that one. But for now, we've got a caller on the line. Mr. Hamutenya from Winter. Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, madam?
We are well. How do you find yourself, and how would you like to contribute this afternoon?
Just I was asking, the maternity is still 3 months, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, then I want to ask you, that 15,000, how they used to pay? They pay in the 5 or they pay once? How did they pay that 15,000? Because I get already, the program started already, I didn't head, maybe they mentioned it already, or how they used to pay in that 15,000.
Pardon me, you had a problem or an encounter with regards to the payment of the 15,000?
I wanted to hear how did they used to pay
Okay.
if a woman go to the maternity.
Okay.
That's 15,000. They pay in 3 months or they pay once.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Hangura will answer that for you.
No, thank you. The payment is based on the expected date of confinement. But basically we said we'll pay the first payment 4 weeks, that cover a period of 4 weeks before the expected date of delivery or expected date of delivery. Basically what we are saying, you must receive your payment at least on the date of confinement or the expected date, or within 7 days during that period. Then we'll pay the first payment. The second payment we'll also pay once we receive the birth certificate from 14 and 15. We'll also pay it within a period of those 4 weeks period after a date of confinement, but before the end of the period, at least 7 days before the end of the period, we'll pay the second payment. The last payment we'll pay it within the last 8 weeks, before the end of the last 8 weeks, but 7 days before the end of the maternity leave. So basically, in summary, we pay like on a monthly basis. We normally say 3 months. Our member always says 3 months, so we'll pay each month. Or they will talk about 12 months, then we'll pay within 4, 8, and 12. So we pay it per specific period of time. Not a once-off, but we pay in that format.
Okay. Mr. Hamutenya, I hope we have answered your question. Hello, Mr. Hamutenya is still on the line. Okay, I think he's not on the line anymore, but hopefully we have answered his question there. We continue with the conversation here with Mr. Hayengura while we wait for more viewers to join us in the conversation. I had a question with regards to the age bracket of retirement to qualify for the retirement claim. You spoke about 60 to 65. So are we saying that a person who chooses to go on early retirement does not qualify?
Yes. Currently, in the current law, we will not pay, you will not get benefit if you go on retirement before the age of 60, which many will say early retirement, because there's no provision for that in the current law.
Okay.
So we'll only pay you if you retire between the age of 60 and 65.
Okay.
Yes.
We take another caller, Mr. Mashinda from Katima Mulilo. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good afternoon. How are you, madam?
We are well. How would you like to contribute this afternoon?
Yeah, my question is that because I was listening on the speech of, I don't know if it's Ampenya, or when I was listening to his speech, it's like, he did not even mention the benefits of the men. It looked like the social security was established only for the female part. Because when they go for maternity, the social security pay. When they retire, also pay. And the men can only be paid when they get the retirement of 60 years. It's when they can be paid. But if you retire before 60 years, I did not hear him mention something that those people, they will benefit. While they contributed to the fund.
Okay. So do you have a question behind that, or is it just basically a comment in that form?
No, the question is that I wanted him to tell us where really the men benefit.
Okay.
Because it looks like the females, they are benefiting twice, while the men, they are only benefiting once. And it's only those people who reach the age of 60 years.
Yeah.
If you do not reach the age of 60 years, maybe you go on early retirement, and you will not be paid. That's what I wanted to find out. Why are they not paying every person who works on the retirement?
Okay. Okay. Let's pose that question to Mr. Hingora.
Okay, thank you very much. It's clear. Now, just to say men are only paid when they retire, or maybe I did not get it well, but we pay benefit, different benefit, except maternity leave. I also indicated we pay sick leave, we pay death, retirement, disability. We also do payment in case of injury on duty, where we pay your medical expenses, as I explained from the beginning, transport to the medical facility in case of a permanent disability, where we pay a lump sum or we pay monthly pension, and in case of death, where we pay certain prescribed benefit to survivals. Now, it's just unfortunate that women are women and they are expected to go on maternity, and that is the benefit that is entitled to them. Yeah. So as I explained from the beginning that we have different platforms that we can air those suggestions.
Okay.
It's good, but you mention a very key aspect and say, is the fund able to sustain for whatever we are suggesting as benefits to be paid? So that is basically the key. But just to put everyone at ease, except the maternity leave, there are also other benefits. I can also go on, perhaps maybe said, if you look at in terms of injury on duty, the bulk of claim that comes in, it comes from male counterpart, except in area like, at your coastal area where they works in the fish processing factory.
Yeah.
So it's just that understanding, so that we can have the understanding that first, yes, there is a condition. If you are not in that condition, you will not be paid. Secondly, there are also other benefits that anyone is entitled, as I listed them, except your maternity benefit.
Yeah. But now one becomes curious of, as we said, the world is evolving, it's changing, and I think nowadays we are seeing more and more people that are changing their retirement age. But before we go into that particular question that I had, we'd like to welcome Anytime to the platform. Good afternoon, Anytime from Tsumeb. How are you?
I'm doing well, and how are you, madam?
We are well. How would you like to contribute this afternoon?
Just before I go to my contribution and the question, I would like to thank Mr. Mashinda from Gatima. He said that when I started recording, the lines were busy. I wanted to pose the same question Mr. Mashinda from Gatima asked. We, as the members of Social Security, being males, we are not happy. And Mr. Angora, the way he is now addressing it, the question does not even satisfy some of us. Like when I retire early, he said that we cannot claim. Where has been my money going towards my contribution to that Social Security? Are we just throwing our money into the sea? That's unfair. This is the right time, like indicating that the world is revolving. We cannot just sit on the policies that are outdated while the world is revolving. We need Social Security to revisit its regulation, its policies, and accommodate male, employees, and also to amend that one of that when the person goes on early retirement, you don't benefit anything from social. Where is my money going? That one should be taken into serious. We cannot lose our money like that. The government allows any civil servant to go on early retirement at 55 age. How come Social Security puts that on that we cannot benefit? Go and revisit your regulations, policies, and accommodate us. I just want to emphasize on what Mr. Makita said. In the same boat, I'm not happy. Maybe other male counterparts are not happy also.
Okay.
The time you benefit from the Social Security is only when you retire. Who knows that all of us? Even Akron is listening here, both of you there in the studio there, on the government information center. No one knows that we will reach tomorrow. Why should we make complicated that only those who reach 60? No one predicts about tomorrow's, life. Even now, when I finish calling you, I cannot say that I will reach in the evening or tomorrow morning. And many of the policies say, accommodate people goes on early retirement at 55 years age. It's the government that allows that one also. So amend that one. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Anytime from Tumip. I think he took the words out of my mouth, basically, because I was driving to the same point, because a lot of people are starting to be advised based on the employment problem that many countries are finding themselves with. Many are being advised, to consider early retirement, to allow for that movement and allow for a take-up of new intake to try and deal with the employment problem. And I do know, and I do speak under correction, we had a situation, for example, with medical aids that were not willing to give, let's say, the 100% benefit to a person who retires before 60. But if I am correct, even that has been amended for somebody who is, going on retirement at the age of 55. They now get their 100% compensation. Hence, I speak in the same tongue as Mr. Anytime, as in, can we maybe consider to start the similar conversation with the Social Security Commission's benefits to that particular regard?
No, I think those are key because that is the reality.
Yeah.
So from the institution point of view, I have taken note of all those comments. They are not really, it's not that is the first time that they are coming, they've been coming up, and we are looking into it to see, but it's a reality, and it is, because a person have retired, and we'll look into that as an institution and see what is the best and practical. But I will communicate that to the institution.
Okay. I also wanted to find out the payment for death and the payment for retirement. Are they the same?
Yes.
They're equal in amounts? So
it's an equal amount of 12,000. It's paid when a member died, now to the surviving spouse or dependent, or when a member reached the age of 60 to 65, is the same, or when the member become medical disabled. So it's a once-off. It's the same amount.
Okay. As we continue with our session this afternoon, we would like to then ask this question. I think we've covered most of what we had. Yeah. For employees that are medically boarded, what percentage do they get in this regard? Is it determined by the duration of service, or is it a fixed rate across board?
Okay. So there are two categories. One is medical boarded due to whatever natural cause, have nothing to do with working environment. Then that lump sum of 12,000 is paid to that specific member. It's a once-off. That's the one scenario. But if the result of that disablement have to do with an injury on duty, is then where we pay that specific person a monthly pension for life. Now that amount is also a percentage linked to your income with a certain maximum to it. Yeah, so those are the two scenarios. I just want to make it clear. One, have to do with your work. Maybe you got injured while on duty and you become medical disabled, 100% disabled, then we pay you a monthly pension. If they have nothing to do with your working environment, it was not an injury on duty, we still have to pay you the lump sum of 12,000 because you are now medical disabled and you cannot do what you were supposed or expected to do. So then we pay you the lump sum.
So if I understood correctly, there is an option to have it being paid out like a monthly pension, and the category of being medically boarded with in the category of injury on duty.
Yes.
Now, in that same breath, I would like to then ask, can a person then also opt for a similar option of payment when you are getting the retirement payout?
No.
Okay.
So the retirement payout is just a lump sum.
Okay.
The other one, because the rule in that fund make provision that if you are medical disabled and it's assessed at a rate of more than 31% disablement, and then you qualify for now what we call a monthly pension, provided that it was injury on duty.
Okay.
So those are the two exceptions.
Okay.
But also in the same fund, if the percentage of disability or disablement is 30% and less, we will still, even though it was an injury on duty, after the assessment, we will then have to pay you a lump sum, which is a once-off.
Okay. And with the percentage being more than the 31, this pension, is it a payment that then sums up to the $12,000, or is it an indefinite payment?
No, it's just a payment that is linked to your basic salary. And then it's also regulated in terms of the ceiling, the maximum that we have to pay. It have nothing to do with the 12,000. So it have got its own rules, how we calculate it, and then you qualify for the monthly payment.
And the ceiling is how much?
I might speak under correction. I did not bring that information now, but I can still look it up and then see. But there's a specific ceiling.
Okay.
Linked
That's
to
fine. When somebody is just, time is always against us. So for our final question, we would like to then also just do or make due diligence to the person who gets injured while they're on duty. When do you, or when does the institution then make that payout, and to what extent does the injury at work constitute payment?
Okay. So first, the rule for the fund is that accident must be reported to the commission by the employer by completing employer's report of accident, and then it must be accompanied by the medical reports. At the beginning, the first medical report and the medical expenses. So now what we start with is we'll first assess whether the claim is acceptable. Once accepted, we pay what we call the medical expenses. Now, if the medical expenses is paid and there are still benefits that needs to be paid, if it is now a disablement in terms of percentage and it's linked, let's say your injury, your disability is 30% and less, then we'll pay you a lump sum. Now, if your degree or the disablement is more than 31%, then that is where we pay you a monthly pension. So to answer when is the person entitled to the benefit is just as I have explained, it should be an injury on duty. And the commission should accept the benefit, the claim, and then those benefits are linked to certain evaluation. We evaluate and then we say whether we're going to pay you a monthly lump sum, a pension, and then the other thing we have to cover for the medical expenses. Medical expenses, there's a lot of component. If a person loses a leg or whatever, then we have to do those devices that are provided. We have to cater for that. If you lose your eye, then maybe, or you can't see anymore, prescribed to certain type of glasses. Those are issues that we also take care of. Operations, all those. So those are what we do.
Okay, okay. I hope we have answered most of the questions that many might have had with regards to the social security claims and benefits. Unfortunately, we have come to the end of our session this afternoon. We'd like to thank Mr. Hangura for taking the time out to help us understand some of these nitty-gritties. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm happy that at least we have communicated to the public. This is key to us.
Very good. With that said, from myself, Shianwa Desire Kahiha, and my production crew, until tomorrow, bye-bye.